Good evening. Welcome to Good Guy Sports. Before we start a show, I'd like to get a special shout out to thank you to Mr. Kevin at Duke Athletics for an amazing tour of the Cameron Indoor and the Duke Hall of Fame. It was a fantastic experience I will never forget.
Jack, who was your favorite? Did they have all the former players up in the jerseys and stuff? I remember when I was walking around the inside, they had all the famous Duke players, which there's been so many in the NBA, right? They have their jerseys and little plaques and stuff, right?
Yeah, right. Well, before I do that, Kevin actually gave me a special rewards banquet program that I want to show the audience. This is what it looks like for this past April. What I want to share with you right now is what it actually looks like.
Oh,
Oh, very
wow.
nice.
That's
Very cool.
fantastic.
Very cool.
And it says
Nice.
Duke men's basketball at the very end. It goes all and it shows you different players and that's on this year's team and roster and gives you a perfect example of what they actually look like in this year's team. So Mr. Kevin, I hope you're listening to us, and we'd love to have you on the show soon. But yeah, he was a great tour guide, and he loves having me on campus, especially at the stadium, and let's be let's be on the show soon, and he definitely loves baseball too and other sports too. But I'm sure he would love to talk to Mike Roby soon.
Yeah.
Soon. So I think he would be the perfect guy, and we'd love to have him on.
Did you know that Sonny Jurgensen went to Duke?
Oh, I didn't know that. So,
Did you know that Jack's uncle, Brian, has a pair of Sonny Jurgensen's golf shoes? No lie.
Wow.
And they fit him. And I've played golf with him while he wore them.
The
Yeah.
size 11 or 12 or
I don't remember. It had to be
Size,
at least 11.
it had to be size 9.
Yeah,
probably,
yeah. Yeah. I didn't say he wore them on his feet, but he did. Yeah. And he played really well with them. So there must be some magic in those shoes.
yeah.
Yes, indeed.
All right, Jackson, what's the first thing we want to touch on in today's show, you think?
all right, so let's get us caught up on some other sports topics that we need to get through right now. So we are going to start off with I am recording. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, we're live. We're live. Just that just double checking with me. Nothing to be worried about. We are live. No need to be worried, guys. All right, so
Don't make any
nice.
mistakes.
Be nice.
oh, I am. Just trust me. We're live, so you don't need to, no need to worry. So anyway, so let's get back on track here and break it all on down here, and we're going to be talking about we're going to be since Uncle Mike was absent with us last week, we're going to be breaking down and talking about this year's NFL schedule. So since we didn't have Uncle Mike on last week, we want to get to the Commander schedule and talk about what they have. So I'm looking at it, and
One thing they don't have is a new owner, right?
no,
Almost.
very well,
Almost.
getting there. Since Steiner has been there for at least more than 2 decades, so he's pretty much been the owner of that team, but that's no longer
I believe it's the same. The new owner is the former owner of the Sixers, correct?
And the Devils.
The Devils, that's right.
Josh Harris.
Who also owns,
So he likes to own losing teams then, huh?
and he also owns the Premier League's Crystal Palace.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
The Bay Sox, the AA affiliate for the Orioles up in Bowie, Maryland, were running a special last week that anybody showed up and if their first name was Josh or their last name was Harris, got in free. If
Nice.
anybody showed up with a Magic Johnson shirt, they got in free. And if anybody showed up with a Commanders jersey, they got a $10 ticket for a box seat and a chance to throw out the first pitch.
Wow. So safe to say the Washington D.C. area
The
is
stadium was full that night.
Yeah.
excited about new ownership.
A
Yeah.
lot of
Absolutely.
forged birth certificates that day.
I thought that was great.
That's awesome. So what did you get? The $10 gift certificate?
Yeah.
So what, Jack, you think, I mean, surely the NFC East this year, I wouldn't expect the Commanders to put up much of a challenge. Even if they
Yeah.
have an easy schedule, I still think that division is too tough. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm okay.
I would agree with the Eagles picking up the 2 linemen from Georgia.
Yeah.
They got an awesome their #1 defense just got better.
Exactly.
So let's see. So I'm looking at the Commander's schedule right now, and they start the season with the Cardinals. Then they have to go to Denver. Then they're home against the Bills. That's on week 3. Then they have to go to Philadelphia at week 4. They got the
1
Bears.
and 3 at best.
Yeah, the Bears, and they're at the Falcons. They got 2 games on the road against the Giants. They're back home against Philly. Then on the 5th of November, they go to Foxborough to take on the Patriots. Yeah,
Easy
Let them
victory.
try.
yeah, that's right. They are going to Foxborough to take on Bill Belichick and those Patriots. That's right. They're playing them for the first time probably in like a few years. So
That'll be our Super Bowl.
Hmm.
And we got to go to Dallas to play the Cowboys on Thanksgiving.
Oh, that's cool.
That's a good matchup.
Yeah.
I feel like that's been the Thanksgiving game a couple of times. The
Exactly.
Washington Dallas. That's always a fun one.
Yeah.
But I have to point out that the Washington Commanders team actually beat the Cowboys on Thanksgiving before. I think it was about a couple of years ago. I think that somewhere around there. So
Yeah, I think I remember that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I do too. They've done it before, and that's something that they actually
probably Kirk Cousins, huh?
from that. Yeah, I think he was the quarterback that year.
Commander Kirk,
Yep.
Captain Kirk.
That was the year your dad told me to bet on the Cowboys.
Yeah, that was any NFL advice, gambling or fantasy
You
related
got to
from
do the
Just-
opposite.
just
David
the
right?
Gerke.
opposite.
You got to
He
fade,
always used to
fade him.
like to take Detroit and Dallas on Thanksgiving Day. He called it the double D.
And I'm sure he made a total of. I'm sure he's in the negatives on that overall. I would guess.
We both are.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Then they go to Seattle, Giants at home, Cowboys on the road, Dolphins at home, Rams on the road, Jets, 49ers, Cowboys, and that's really
That's a tough schedule.
That's tough. Yeah,
very tough schedule for
you have the NFC West. Yeah.
Commanders.
Yeah. Welcome
Yeah.
to the
So
NFL, Josh.
I guess since the last time we did one, Jack, the full schedule is out, right? So
Last Thursday when we had Steve and my brother on for last week's show while Mike was absent visiting with his dad. So
if you look at the rankings for strength of schedule, the teams with the easiest is ironically 3 teams in the NFC South, but that's because the NFC South is probably going to be the worst division, so they play each other. But Saints, Falcons, Panthers, and then Colts, 49ers also have the projected easiest schedule. And then the team with the hardest schedule is Uncle Steve's Patriots,
I know.
Raiders, Dolphins, Bills, and Chiefs. So usually the teams that are in the divisions that are difficult because they play each other, right? But
Twice.
it's tough for the Pats because they got Aaron Rodgers coming to town now, and they got Josh Allen with the Bills, and who knows about Miami. So it doesn't look too strong, but they do play the games for a reason, right?
Exactly. Any given Sunday.
Well, after the 4th week, Commanders will have everybody overconfident.
Yeah, it's usually how it goes. There's usually
Every
some
opponent. Every opponent.
Every opponent will be overconfident, just where we want them.
There you
We
go.
need to play them earlier than November or whenever we're on. Can we open against them instead of the Eagles, please?
That would be ideal.
Yes, it would be.
yeah. So once again, we got the London games, the games in London, which happened at 9 o'clock in the morning East Coast time. It'll be Sunday afternoon their time. we start off with, like I said, want to just want to get Uncle Mike in here in this because he wasn't here last week. We got the Falcons Jaguars in the first one. Then the Jaguars stay in London and take on the Bills. You got the Ravens and Titans in London. Then we got the Dolphins and the Chiefs in Frankfurt, Germany, followed by your Patriots, Chiefs Patriots, and the Colts also in Germany at 9:30 a.m. Sunday morning back in the East Coast. And that makes it for a pretty good early morning football for us East Coast people. And wondering about that much and figuring out that's gonna be your football Sunday for us watching football in the East Coast and what we're actually used to and what there are out there across the pond taking place over there in Europe and over there in London.
Breakfast football. Love it.
Exactly. And that's all day.
Yeah.
9 a.m. till probably 11:30 at night. Sorry, honey.
Yeah, and then we got some games on Thanksgiving and Christmas, which I have a feeling we're going to be hearing from the Stroh family this Christmas like we always do, which has become a thing in the Gerke family household, which is true. And but then for the first time this season, we got a game on Black Friday, which means I don't know if you guys will be tuning in to watch football, but I have a feeling that you and Ann will be doing some Black Friday shopping before you get back to the house to watch some afternoon football. That's probably what I have to guess, maybe, or
I'm not going to the stores.
I mean, yeah, who doesn't?
That's why God invented Amazon.
Well, that's true. That's true. That's why those digital platforms like Peacock and Prime Video, which has become a thing nowadays, and in today's sports TV than it was back in the day that you guys grew up in. But you're right, stuff has changed.
Hey Jack, so all the Thanksgiving games this year looks like they're divisional
I'm sorry, we got the
games.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm looking at it, and yeah, so I'm looking at it, and
so you got
let's
the
see,
Lions are playing the Packers.
Lions are the Packers, and then we got the Cowboys and Commanders like we addressed earlier. And then we got the 49ers and Seahawks in the nightcap. So
I'll tell you what, that you mentioned something, Jack, that reminded me. One of the things I'm concerned about, I mean, obviously the NFL draws the largest TV audience. It's in my view, and I think it's proven, it's the most popular professional sport in America. But one of the things that concerns me is that, you've got, let's take there's a playoff game in January. I think it's on January 13th. And who knows who's going to be playing. It's a wild card game. But that game's only going to be broadcast on Paramount Plus. Right? So, but it'll be broadcast for the local audiences on a local station. But if it's the Eagles against the Bills and I want to watch the game, I have to have Paramount Plus. Just like you need Amazon Prime for Thursday night, and you need there are all these little spin-offs. Everybody wants a piece. And I think it's going to be really tough for the NFL and any sport, quite honestly, to find the right balance between upfront money and retaining their viewers. And that's one of the dangers, I think. There's guys like Uncle Mike and I who wouldn't think about not having cable TV. But there's guys like you and Blake that wouldn't think about having cable. And it's a different audience. And, I guess it all depends who the advertisers are trying to appeal to and how many numbers they want. But you got to keep the sport young and growing. And I just worry that the way they're broadcasting some of these games, not just, one game out of how many on Sunday, it's the only Thursday night game or a playoff game, if they ever did it to the Super Bowl, that would, in fact, Goodell, I think, Goodell came out and said, hey, there's no way we're going to allow the Super Bowl to not be on linear TV because the audience is so great. And, the advertisers wouldn't allow it. They wouldn't pay the fees that they do otherwise. I mean, the fees, as you
Yeah.
know, are crazy. But I'm just saying, I get concerned about the way the sport is going, NFL in particular, but it's going to branch out. You could see the NBA doing that. You could see MLB. I think it's not good for the fans, if you will. It might be great for the league. It might be great for the players, in terms of media money. But I think you got to be careful.
So one of the playoff games is on Paramount Plus. Is that right?
January 13th. I think it's a wild card game. I don't know if it's AFC or not, but
Interesting.
yeah. And that's obviously the Thursday night games we already know about. But you can see where it might be going. It's happening pretty quick.
Yeah, I guess they're kind of transitioning into it where they give a few games a year, like the Amazon last year with the Thursday night, and I guess they kind of use it as like a testing ground to see how it goes and how many games
Exactly.
they can pull off of cable. So yeah, that's like you said for all sports. I like the we use like the MLB.TV app and stuff like that. That's like streaming, I guess, technically, because you can watch out of market games. And
Exactly.
I think it makes more sense for baseball because there's so many games, right? That like being able to tune in or out to a game depending on where you are makes sense. But I think NFL is a whole different thing because of the massive audiences.
Yeah, and versus one game a week versus 4 or 5, maybe 6 could be for your local team.
I think a lot's going to be the broadcasters, the quality of the play-by-play people.
Great point. Great point.
Did you guys watch the Prime broadcast last year? It was
I did.
Kirk Herbstreit, right?
I did.
And Al Michaels.
Al Michaels.
I saw people were kind of mixed on the Herbstreit because I guess people didn't know him because he did mostly college football.
Exactly.
So I mean, I heard mixed things, but yeah, it's a good point from Uncle Mike. I think getting the broadcast and the production and all that is important.
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge.
The other thing that's going to change in pro sports is the concept of mutual funds, where you got more and more people buying smaller and smaller minority shares of a team.
Not to the extent that the Packers do seat licensing, but you've got
Commanders just sold for $6 billion, and they must have a whole roster of minority owners.
So is it one of them? Yeah. Well, so is the Commanders one like set up to where the group buys 100%, but then the group is allocated, or is like the individual? So like Magic Johnson owns like 15% of the Commanders.
Is a percentage of the owners, but then they have to pick someone to be the spokesperson, if you will, to be the representative,
the face of the team.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Interesting.
But you're going to see, because at that price, in order to raise that money, you're going to see these
fractured ownerships.
Yeah, it's just like you're buying stock into a sports conglomerate.
No, private equity thing or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, if you thought about just owning a house, a vacation home with 3 or 4 other people, how challenging that can be. Never mind a sports team.
Yeah.
It's a complicated business, right, Jack?
Complicated.
It's gone tough these days, especially of us in the broadcasting and sports industry. That's part of the world that we're living nowadays, and stuff that we actually grew up with, which I can certainly relate.
Let me tell you how tough it is, Jack. What did Uncle Mike? What did he pay for the Commanders 20 years ago, something like that, 500,000?
He paid 800 million.
Oh, 800. I meant.
And then within 30 days, he got FedEx to pay for the branding of the stadium, and got FedEx to pay him 200 million.
So he's in for 600.
So
and he's got 6 billion coming back.
Yeah,
it's crazy how all these guys that are so wealthy buy up all these teams and then make the counties and the cities pay for the stadium.
Yeah. And all the improvements and everything else.
Yeah, it's like, can't you chip in a little bit more? Like you're the guy with all the cash, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, Snyder started his communications business, working for a family called the Lerners, who are the owners of the Nationals now.
Okay.
Oh, interesting.
Well, so what are they doing with that with the FedEx Field anyway? Isn't it kind of in rough shape these days?
Well, they are trying to, the district is trying to get the federal government to deed the land where RFK is now back to the city, so that then the city has an opportunity to build a new stadium there.
So they want to build on the old site of RFK.
I think
new
it would
stadium?
be, yeah.
It's like a new RFK basically.
Yeah.
Interesting.
To me, I would rather see that. I mean, they're the Washington Commanders. They're not the suburban Commanders.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Unlike the New England Patriots.
Yeah, how far of it's what the Foxborough is like an hour in the middle of nowhere, right?
It's an hour from Boston.
Hour from Boston, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I always see the list of NFL stadiums that people I always see pictures of people like complaining about FedEx Field where there's like some like weird leak or something, or like there's some
Well, they had the sewer pipe last
yeah,
year.
yeah. So I guess
Broke.
that'll be one of the new
Yeah.
owner prerogatives is patching up the leaks in the stadium, right? So
Well, I think any of these big stadiums need to be by public transportation. They need to be by a
100%.
subway. They need to be by a subway.
100%. 100%.
And you build on the RFK site, the subway's right there. You don't have to do anything.
Minimal parking needs.
Yeah. And then there's other stadiums in other cities that you got to drive.
yeah.
And man, that's the biggest hindrance to a fed up field.
Takes you almost as long to get out of the parking lot at Foxborough as it does to watch the game.
Yeah, you have to drive.
Yep.
You can't.
It's expensive. It costs you $60 to park.
Yeah. I mean, that's crazy.
So Uncle Mike, I thought I heard a rumor last week that you are going to be retiring soon professionally.
Yeah. I only have 13 days left. Not that I'm counting.
So how does that decision, where's your calendar with the X's on it? How does that decision impact your sports viewing or sports attending calendar?
Well, that's just going to increase.
Is it possible?
Right now, with my dad's condition and everything else on hold, but that is the long to visit every single major league park.
How many have you gone to?
I haven't gone to many.
Coming to Fenway? Have you been to Fenway?
No, I've never been to Fenway.
We need to coordinate.
I've been to Baltimore, San Diego.
Washington.
Have you gone to a Braves game before?
Huh?
Have you gone to a Braves game?
Just at not in Atlanta. Just seen them obviously at Nationals Park.
New stadium's nice, yeah.
Yeah.
Can I tell you guys? Go ahead, Jack.
Yeah, Truist Park is a great place. It's got a bunch of restaurants and shopping surrounding it over there at the Battery. You will want to check out this place out if you can, Uncle Mike. Blake and I would love to take you there to a game there. One of these.
Well, it's a date. Let's do it.
All right.
I got to share a quick story with you. Probably 5 or 6 years ago, my son David and I went to Wrigley Field. Neither of us had been there before. We got there early, enjoyed the park. David grabbed a little bit of the ivy off the wall in right field, put it in his pocket. We didn't get thrown out, but we got to our seats, and the guy sitting on the aisle right next to us, we were in 2 and 3, and the guy sitting in seat number 1, nice guy, friendly guy, and he had a big sign that he held up, and it said 30 ballparks in 30 days. And he was celebrating his 50th birthday. He had sold his business, and his goal was to go to 30 ballparks in 30 days. And some days he'd go to 2 ballparks. In fact, he had to leave Wrigley in like the 7th inning because he was going to Milwaukee to see another game. Okay. And he would eat stadium food at every single one. He had to have like a hot dog. He had to try something. He had to have a beer. And so he told me how he coordinated this because it involved driving, rental cars, flying, trains, whatever.
Planes, trains, automobiles.
And he had a website set up, and it was a fundraiser for helping people that had cancer. And it was a really phenomenal, he's a great guy, and it was a really fun story. And everywhere he went, including Boston, when he came to Boston, he would find a way to get on sports radio and have an interview, usually by phone, and talk to some of the local hosts and use that as a way to drum up support for his fundraiser, and also just to have some fun and maybe get a better seat or whatever. And he was telling me, and I don't remember the number that he spent on hotels, on cars, on planes, on trains, on everything. The total cost of this was a very high number, but he was on track to do 30 ballparks in 30 days, which is phenomenal. We can't do it in a lifetime, Mike.
No.
We try, but it's hard.
Yeah. Yes,
Anyway.
indeed. That's great.
That's my story on ballparks.
Jack, what's your?
That sounds like that sounds like a incredible story there.
It was a really good guy.
I think my favorite ballpark that I've been to it's probably either Fenway or Wrigley, just because of the
Really?
historical aspect. Yeah.
It's interesting you say that, because when we go to Fenway, we've been, forever. That's just where we go. There's so many better ballparks. Like, I liked Camden Yards. I liked the Washington National Stadium. I like Citizens Park in Philadelphia. They're newer stadiums. The seats are comfortable. The amenities are much better. Fenway has charm, but it's also got really small seats. It was during a time when people weren't as big as we are today, and I'm not a big guy. But if you get a chance, David Rubenstein has a series on iconic American legends, I guess is a good way to put it. And the first series, it's halfway through now. The first one was on Fenway Park, and we watched it the other night. You can see it, I think, on Bloomberg. Oh no, it's on PBS. It's on PBS. But and then he did another one. I forget what the second one was, but can't recall. But the one on Fenway was pretty good. So it'll give you a good flavor for behind the scenes. They go behind the scoreboard at Fenway, which is a manual scoreboard, as you probably know. And they tell a lot of inside stories. It's a pretty cool series. So check out David Rubenstein, American Legends.
Yeah. I love Petco Park. The left field
That's a
foul
great one.
pole is a facade of an old warehouse. And it's on the corner of the building. They just painted a stripe on the corner of the building, and that's where some of the club seats are.
Wow.
Inside where the old warehouse used to be. So that took a lot of planning when they were building the stadium to put that corner of that warehouse right down the left field line.
That's pretty cool.
It is very cool.
I'd have to put a vote in for PNC Park. I think you guys might have been there.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think in terms of like historical aspect, like Fenway and Wrigley are definitely like in their category, but I think PNC in terms of just like the architectural and like the aesthetic of everything and like the view, it has
coziness too.
Has to be up there with the view of the river and the background and all that. So yeah,
like it doesn't hurt when your uncle gets you tickets to the home run club.
That's
you're
also
sitting like 2 rows behind.
I wasn't gonna mention it,
and you're on TV most of the time when you're watching the game because you're.
I was in the nosebleeds. What do you mean?
I remember us being on TV, sitting in the seats, and looking at the monitor saying, there I am, and here's
Hello.
the game. And yeah, that might have a little bit of an impact on
Possibly.
your
Yeah.
choice of stadiums.
Very possibly.
So where's my ticket to the Hurricanes there, Blake?
Ooh, Jackson, are you ready to talk about NHL playoffs?
Yeah, listen,
Let's
listen.
jump to that.
Last weekend, yeah,
I don't want to, by the way.
yeah, I understand. I understand how I understand how heartbroken you are, and how tough and painful you must be, and how you're so heartbroken after your Bruins didn't make it this far. Yeah, I feel bad for I feel bad for your team. Yeah, they had a great regular season, but
Smaller violin.
yeah,
Thank
right.
you.
Yeah, and the Hurricanes and the Hurricanes, on the other hand, are the second. They are the second points in the league behind your Bruins, who had a great run this regular season, but just came up short, and surprisingly got beat by this against this Florida Panthers team in Game 7 at the Garden.
Yeah.
Trust me, I watched this game on a
This game will be studied for years to come.
well,
Not
right.
by me.
Well, I watched this on the Florida Panthers regional broadcast, and they were just so excited for this team to make it this far. And yeah, this Florida Panthers team, it was a little bit better a little bit more better and more physical against those Bruins, and
Yep.
yeah, those Panthers just and the Hurricanes, nobody really saw this coming, but here,
Well, I'll tell you what, Jack.
be some kind of
I was confident. I was confident in the Hurricanes. They played consistent throughout the whole season. Most of the time, the team with the best record does not end up going to the Cup final. So they might have had that going for them, where all of the attention was on Boston. Carolina could kind of just sneak in, glide by, get the second most points in the East. They ended up getting a good draw by avoiding Florida, because apparently they're giant killers. So it was beneficial for them to avoid them and get the Islanders in the first round. So yeah, Game 1, Panthers Hurricanes tonight. I would be surprised if this doesn't go 6 or 7 games. I think two teams that are evenly matched. I think Carolina will be able to stop them with their defense. I think Florida has got was it Kachuk who really hurt Boston. So if we're able to contain him, I think we'll have a good shot. We got to get our guys going. Aho's got to have a big series for Carolina. But we got home ice advantage. The crowds in Raleigh have been really into it. So I'm confident that we're going to make it to the Cup final.
Well, both teams are red hot. They both coming off of a 4-1 series, the last series.
Yeah.
We had an easier time with the Devils than the first round with the Islanders, similar to Florida, who ended up swatting Toronto away pretty easily compared to their first round series with Boston. So two well-rested teams, you might say. Like you said, only winning in 5 games in the second round. So I think it'll be a good series. What do you think, Jack? Are you tipping Carolina here? Or?
I think I am, but it's going to be. I think I am, but it's going to be close. It's going to be like one of those games that can go like much further to like possibly a possible Game 7. It could go either way, and
yeah, I can smell a Game 7.
Both teams are evenly matched, and I think this one could decide this one to go to the Cup final.
I'm taking anyone but Florida.
Fair enough. Uncle Mike, are you taking the Canes as well?
Yeah, I got to take the Canes.
Got a Canes sweep here. Okay, that means Florida's going to win then. We shall see. So what
right. So how about some predictions on the NBA finals?
Yes, should we
had
cover
a prediction last week.
The Denver Nuggets, by the way, lead 1-0 over the Lakers in Game 1. So Jokic has been red hot at home. The team has had some great home success. Game 2 is tonight, and they're going to be playing this game at home, and then the series will be switching out to the Crypto.com Center on Saturday night, where in LA. So I'm So I'm not even sure if the crowds would be a factor between for the series for the fans in Denver or in LA. That might play a factor in the series, but you never know. But like I said, but like I said in last week's show, I predicted Denver to go to the NBA Finals. I'm gonna stick with it. But I'll tell you what, the Nuggets and Heat NBA Finals. If I were to predict that,
Ouch.
Time out. I'll give you Denver. I mean, yeah, you can have the Nuggets for now. Let's reserve judgment on the East.
I guess Jackson was not impressed last night, were you?
Well, listen, they had the lead, but then they had too many lead changes. And what I was about to say is the Celtics did all they could. They had a 2-point lead, but then Miami just stuck with their game plan and made more, and just made and Jimmy Bucket, Bam Adebayo, and Kevin Love make tough, big, critical shots, and that was Celtics defense didn't look this weren't really in their A game the last I checked, and that's probably why they lost. And
we love playing on the road, Jack. We love the road.
Well, I know you do. But I also have to point out, you guys did win their last playoff series there. But I have to point out this one last playoff series. Well, the one before the Eastern Conference Finals. Before that, when they played against Atlanta, where Trae Young silenced the crowd at the TD Garden. My brother actually loved that because he was born and grew up in Atlanta. He can tell you all about it. And yeah, that had to be a huge moment for my brother since we lived in Atlanta. So that's I just have to throw that out there, and just have to throw it out
So
there.
basically, the Celtics have made their lives difficult with every series so
They're
far,
good at
and
that.
it looks
They're
like
good at that.
it looks like this series is going to be no exception. Steve, is that right?
I think that's 100% right. If it goes less than 6, I'd be amazed. And
I mean that
Game 7 is possible.
yeah, it looks like another Game 7. Yeah, I guess that was they started out well, and then the third quarter everything just kind of fell apart, right?
They were up by 10 at the half, and Miami scored 45 points in the third quarter.
Crazy.
So that's like 180 point,
Buckets close it out in the fourth quarter, close the deal out, and they closed out game 1, and this Miami Heat team just stealing a game at the Boston Garden, which I'm sure you weren't happy about. But you know what? It's like you said, it's only game 1. I'm sure they'll find a way to bounce back in the second one, or
they did lose game 1 of the previous series.
Miami has won the last 6 game 1s in playoffs.
I'm going old school.
Wow.
Celtics will beat the Heat.
I'm with you, 100%.
Lakers will take the Nuggets.
I would love it.
It's going to be the Celtics and the Lakers in the finals.
That would be, and because both teams have 17 banners, right? Both the Lakers and the Celtics have 17 world championships. So who gets 18?
Well,
wouldn't that be awesome?
Time will tell.
You think the media would love that?
Yeah.
Oh man, I know we'd love it.
Will Bird beat?
The other reason I'd like
Bird beat Magic?
The other reason I like it is because I think we match up better against the Lakers.
Yeah, I like your guys' optimism, but from what I saw in game 1, I have a hard time believing anybody can stop Denver and Jokic.
He's just too good and dominant on both sides of the ball, and those other free-star players from Nuggets just have too, like they're just like too dominant, and they're just that good. And that's really the recipe for success.
I worry about Jokic twisting an ankle in game 2. Out for the series. High ankle
Interesting.
High ankle sprain.
We'll keep an eye on his health.
Foul trouble too.
He's gonna pull him home.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think I mean, when I think of, like, I mean, Celtics and Lakers is I feel like it's become a rivalry, which I don't even know why it is, but
Oh, I can tell you why.
what's oh yeah. For all these years you lived up in New England, tell us about it.
Well, I was a Celtics season ticket holder for probably 6 or 7 years, and the Lakers only come into Boston once a year, except for playoffs. So when they come to town for the playoffs, it's a big deal, and there's a lot of history, and it's like, a lot of teams, they hate each other, so it gets physical. I can remember a lot of classic matchups, and they were great. They were great, but they were very physical. And and there was a lot of drama and a lot of last minute victories, and it was great. The Celtics used to turn off the air conditioning in the visitors' locker room, and they were playing these games in June. Okay. And so it was incredibly uncomfortable for these guys. They go back at halftime, or before they even start the game, and it was like 90 degrees in there. And now they come out and they try to play, and they're lethargic, and then they go back in and they're tired and they can't, regain their energy, and it's just a strategy. There was one bathroom in there, for the visiting team. It just
And it was clogged.
yeah, these things happen. These things happen.
Knew about it.
Boston must be a union city.
Yes, it is. Yeah, they find a way to get things done
Yeah.
or not done. They can turn things off better than they can turn them on.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Sounds
No.
like George Allen when he was the coach of the Washington football team.
Was he brutal?
Oh, he would have them do things like opening up the gate at the stadium so the wind would come in and blow when the other team was trying to make a field goal.
Oh,
And,
I love it.
just sophomoric stuff like that.
Little home field
Little-
advantage.
Yeah, gamesmanship.
Uh-huh.
I love it. I love it. Even if it didn't make a difference, it got in their
Yeah.
heads.
Yeah, that's
Right?
that's about what it did. Yeah.
So when I think of the Lakers, Celtics, of course, we know about Bill Russell and the other I mean, I don't know, Larry Bird was on that team. Back in the day, I think it was when he played for
Larry Legend.
Larry Legend. I don't know if he played for I don't know if he played for Indiana, I believe, back in college, and back when they were a dynasty in college basketball in those days. I think that's one of them I mentioned.
Yep.
Then the Lakers, we know about Wilt Chamberlain, and I mean Kobe Bryant and
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Abdul-Jabbar. Yep, that too. And those legends are one of the
Are you
most.
talking about Lou Alcindor?
Lou out. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. UCLA.
Exactly.
John Wooten.
Icon players. Oh yeah, John Wooden. Oh yeah, John Wooden was a legend at UCLA and above.
Yeah. I went to sports camp when I was a kid, the basketball sports camp. And John Wooten was one of the guys that was there.
No way.
Yeah,
That's cool.
that was cool. And Wes Unseld was there as
I
well.
remember Wes.
Yeah. Wes was a really, really nice guy.
He was with the Wizards, right?
Yeah, well, the Bullets and then the
Bullets, I'm
Wizards.
sorry, Bullets.
Yeah. And yeah, he was.
Well, I have I'm very superstitious. I don't know about you guys. Are you superstitious when you watch like a big game? Like I'll think about what I'm going to wear. Okay. Like, and it doesn't have to be a jersey, but it has to be something, whether it's the shirt, the pants, the shoes, could be the socks, not the underwear, but
So you're gonna wear a full leprechaun outfit for game 2?
no. It's just, do I have a shirt that like, has some vintage to it that has brought me some luck somewhere. So I thought of this just the other night after I went to bed after that stinging game 1 loss. I've actually got a basketball downstairs, and it's 50 years old. Maybe it's more. It's more than it's 55 years old. Okay. And it's not a real basketball. It's kind of a rubber. It's not a leather basketball, but it's signed by every one of the Celtics from that year. I went to a game and they were handing them out, and I've kept it in the basement, deflated for years. And so when I think of it, it's signed by, Bob Cousy and Bill Russell and, Havlicek and Sam Jones and, Tommy Heinsohn. I mean, all the guys are on there, right? So I'm thinking I'm going to bring that ball up from the basement before Friday night's game. I'm going to inflate it. I'm going to put it right by the chair that I sit in when I watch the game. And every now and then I'll just give it a little rub, if I think we need a little love or a little luck. And that's my prediction. The Celtics win game 2 because of that basketball.
Well, I hope you're right. Otherwise, you might throw it somewhere.
I might burn it. I might have to exercise it.
Or you might have to burn it out, or you're going to have to burn it out in the yard, right next to those branches.
Well, then he'll just find a different good luck charm. He'll find like a lucky shirt or a lucky green hat or something.
I see, Blake, you got a green shirt underneath your jersey.
I do actually, yeah.
So, maybe we'll have to ship you up here again.
There you go.
So if they're doing well, you can't change seats.
Exactly. Never. So, any thoughts on the NBA draft? Kind of a strange time frame for the lottery.
The draft lottery, yeah. Was that in your notes, Jack?
Yes, the draft lottery. So this year's pick was Victor Wembanyama, and the Spurs take the number 1 overall pick in this year's draft lottery. In case you're probably wondering, so that's what's trinkets happening right now for the NBA for those rookie players, and Victor Wembanyama from France will be the number 1 pick in the upcoming NBA draft. Something to watch and hope you'll tune into on the 22nd.
So the top 3 is San Antonio's 1, Charlotte is 2, Portland is 3, and so I think the Wembanyama is the obvious number 1 pick, and then I think the 2-3 debate is between Scoot Henderson and the guy from Alabama, Miller, I believe. So I think, and Scoot's local from Georgia. He played in the G League, the development league there. I think most people think he's better, but maybe I think he's a guard. He's like a smaller guard with good physicality, and then Miller's more like a wing player from Alabama. If you watch any of the March Madness tournament, Alabama actually had a bit of a disappointing tournament. I think they were a number 1 seed and they got knocked out by San Diego State, eventual Final Four team. But I think from what I'm reading, Scoot is the better pick, but I think because Charlotte has LaMelo Ball already as like a guard, so maybe they'll pick Miller or something. But yeah, I guess the big story is the Spurs winning the draft lottery and getting the big prize, which is pretty ironic because they've gotten lucky over the years with their number 1 overall picks in big men. If you remember the 97 draft, number 1 overall, Tim Duncan. Then
there was another choice there that year that people were really, was it Odom? I can't remember the other guy that was a potential first pick, and he turned out to be a dud, and they made the right choice with
yeah, so Duncan was a 4-year player in college out of Wake Forest.
Yep.
And yeah, you're right. The second selection for Utah is Keith Van Horn. So I think it's safe to say the Spurs made a good selection there in 97. I imagine this year's draft will be an easy selection for them as well. And then
what I'm hoping, Blake, what I'm hoping is that when the Spurs make their pick, he declines. He doesn't want to sign with them. Just like Eli Manning did,
Yeah.
Chargers drafted him.
I mean, to be honest,
says, look at it. I want to play for a
he wants to play for the Wizards.
He wants to play for the Celtics. He wants to play for the Celtics, and you got to find a way to package a deal to get me to the Celtics or I'm going to sit out. That's
I
what I'm
think
looking.
I think if Charlotte got the first pick, I honestly wouldn't have been shocked if he did that just because Charlotte's so bad and they've never really been good. I think the fact that San Antonio has
They
a
have a
good
history.
history,
Yeah.
and plus they have history of French players as well with Tony Parker,
That's
and
true.
history of good big men with Tim Duncan and also David Robinson, the Admiral, as well, who was a top selection.
He was great.
So yeah, I think he's going into a good infrastructure there with Popovich, but would have been interesting to see if Charlotte or somebody else, Houston or somebody who's kind of bad, got him, but or Detroit actually. They got pretty unlucky because they got the 5th pick after having tied for the best odds actually. So
I'll tell you the other reason he's going to sign with San Antonio. Have you ever heard the stories about Popovich and what he does with his players when they're on the road or when they go somewhere and he has team dinners? And he'll have the team together. He really enjoys wine, fine wine, like high-end wines. And so what he will do is he will get these players in a restaurant, in a private room, and he'll order phenomenal wines and he'll start to talk to them about the wine and the food. And he creates this culture. And so this kid coming over from France, when he knows that, and Pop is big on French wines. And when he knows that, I think he's got him. Yeah, he's gonna send him a nice bottle of wine and open it when he signs his contract, and he'll be signed, sealed, and delivered. My prediction.
yeah, it's funny because I think he was pretty close to retiring. He might have a couple more seasons with the Spurs, but the fact that he gets this prized draft pick is kind of it's works out perfectly for
The
them
one on
because
top.
yeah, exactly. He can use his last couple of coaching years mentoring the best prospect ever, according to some people. So, Jack, what do you are there any Duke players in this draft? I don't think so. I don't know
Not
what
really, not really.
no,
The only player that I can think of is that I can think of is Jason Tatum, who is a who plays for who actually plays for the Celtics and was
Mhm.
and he played college there for about a few years for a few years before he turned pro with the Celtics back in his debut in 2017. So that's the only player that I can think of that plays in the NBA other than RJ Barrett and
Yeah, there's a lot of Duke players. Tatum's probably the best right now, I would say, current Duke basketball player, especially from the Coach K era, especially.
He plays small forward on their roster for that team. That's the
Yeah.
position he plays.
I'm sure he comes back and visits the Cameron Indoor sometimes.
I'm sure he does whenever he can make that visit.
What else is on your schedule, Jack? Anything we didn't touch upon?
We want to get a couple of things on there. So yeah, I mean, what's interesting is that whenever I think of Cameron Indoor, I think of Coach K. And the interesting part about that is when I first toured about this, they have this it's like a museum in there. If you like experience it ever in person, and if you ever check out a game there in person, it would be the most incredible thing you ever see in your life.
Probably similar in some ways to Fenway, where it's like very historical and they have a big museum, and it's people go there just as much to like visit it as a museum as to like watch a sporting event, right?
Or better yet, maybe Cameron Indoor is well, obviously Coach. Whenever I think of like the longest 10 years coaching college basketball, I think of Coach K, Jim Boeheim, who's now retired for Syracuse, and and then the Miami coach Jeremy Leonard, I believe it is, and yeah, I think the ACC has had a long tenure of coaches in that conference in basketball. So
Jack, what's the capacity at that stadium? It's small, isn't it? For basketball,
it holds about 9,000.
Yeah, that's nothing.
Wow. It's very small.
Seating must be really close to the floor, I'm guessing.
Pretty close to that, but that's as good as you can get for a basketball arena that size which for like a gymnasium that looks like a high school gym every time you
Yeah.
like walk in there. That's what that's what Cameron Indoor Stadium is. Every time you like go to a game or play in it or practice or anything, it's that special of a place.
Yeah, I got to. That's where we had our graduation for the grad program that I did, and I mean, it really felt like all the seats and stuff were out, but it really like size wise feels like a high school gym, to be honest. But there's just like so much history and aura in the place. It feels different, but yeah, size wise, it's very small, and that's kind of pretty unique in college basketball, or maybe even basketball in general, in terms of like a small atmospheric stadium like that. It's kind of one of a kind, which is why I like compare it to somewhere like Fenway or Wrigley or something, where I don't feel like you can really like replicate that sort of history and small atmosphere and all that in sports.
And success.
Absolutely. You gotta have a mixture of everything, right?
Yeah. And I think of places like old Yankee Stadium, Notre Dame Stadium,
Yep.
like you mentioned, the LA Coliseum, Pasadena, the Rose Bowl,
Mhm.
And RFK.
Yep.
RFK.
Yeah.
R.I.P.
Stadium in Alabama too. But then Lambeau Field and Green Bay is also one of them
Yeah,
too.
that's a good one in terms of like, historical or magical stadiums, you might say. Yeah.
Soldier Field was great until they landed the flying saucer on top of it.
Yeah, that's true. They're probably trying to build like a indoor stadium up there or something now, but it's so cold.
The Soldier Field just looks, they have the old 1930s facade on the outside, and it just looks like a Roman
Yeah.
Coliseum. But
Exactly.
when they renovated it and they built all these skyboxes and everything, it literally looks like it came out of the movie of Independence Day. It really, to me, it looks like they landed a flying saucer on top of it.
So it's like the equivalent of like putting like a spoiler on top of your 1980s beater car and
Yeah,
giving
exactly.
it like a new paint job or
Yeah.
something, right?
Yeah, it's wild. We had a annual meeting organization I went to at the McCormick Center, which is the convention center. So we had all these physicians going, and then right in the middle, the Bears fans were cutting through, because that's at the convention center is one of the parking lots for Soldier Field. So I had all these Bear fans hooting and hollering, going right in the middle of the convention that we were trying to have with these physicians. It was pretty funny.
Oh, I bet it was. I bet you had a sounds like you had a great fun experience during your time in Shipetown.
Yeah.
Enjoy
yeah.
those. Probably those, who knows, were those beers or Chicago dogs or those
Both.
or those deep dish pizzas. That's
Yeah.
always a must try whenever you visit Chicago.
My daughter just landed in Chicago this afternoon.
Oh, very nice.
Really?
Yeah. Only you get this one. This is real quick, but so she flew from LA to Chicago. She had a connection somewhere, I forget where. Oh, Las Vegas. And she lands in Chicago and she gets an email from the airline saying, you did not show up for your flight. So we've canceled your return flight. And she's looking, she calls me, she said, Dad, what do I do? I said, well, you got to talk to them at the gate. I mean, just, deal with it. She was still on the plane. They said, you never got your flight. She says, well, I'm here. I must have. So she got it sorted out, but that was her Chicago experience today.
That's
I
funny.
hope my sister doesn't get involved in any of that stuff if she's flying out of CFO. I can tell you that.
Maybe.
If she's listening to my show, I hope that she understands. I hope that she knows what she's doing, so that I have her on the show. But
shout out Caroline.
Yeah, shout out Caroline,
and Kaylee.
I hope she learns a lesson from Kaylee's experience, because I hope she doesn't do the same thing. That's all I'm saying.
All I could tell her was, welcome to the pleasures of business travel.
Yes.
Well,
and we all know them too well.
Well, I'm sure we do. Yes. Hey, real quick before we get ourselves out of here, the rest round up for a few quick things before we call ourselves today. The round of the last NBA draft lottery order: the Detroit Pistons, the Magic, the Pacers, the Wizards, the Jazz, the Mavericks, and the Orlando Magic be at Chicago. The Thunder and the Raptors and the Pelicans are the last few that I want to get to. And before we get ourselves out of here, we want to talk about some golf that's happening right now at the PGA Championship at Oak Hill Country Club in Rochester. And what's and what they're known for up there in Rochester is the garbage plate, which is a bunch of food that you can like add on there, and it looks like a meal, which I think is which people might say it's gross, but for people up in the Northeast, like where Steve is from, you might say it's tasty and good. That's what the garbage plate is known for up there in good old Rochester. And speaking of the golf, right now it's Brian DeChambeau has the lead. Scott Scheffler is 3 under. Corey Connors from Canada is 3 under, and Adam Scott is 3 under, and Art Fox is 2 under right now. As we speak.
Did you say DeChambeau has the lead?
I think so.
Because he hit a golfer off the 17th tee today with his tee shot. He hit another golfer on a different hole.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
I don't know who he hit, but yeah.
Yeah, Ryan Fox is who I'm talking about from Australia. That's the name I was looking for. But yeah, very good first impressive day of golf up there at Oak Hill in Rochester. And yeah, I mean you grew up in most parts of these parts up in New York, but yeah, like I said earlier, the garbage plate, yeah, I mean, I might say it's nasty for people, for most people, but for you might say it's pretty good because most people up there get used to it. Well, us Southerners, not so much. That's all I gotta say. And what are your thoughts on the PGA Championship? And we're gonna get your thoughts on what I said, and you tell me all about it from your early childhood, from where you grew up.
Well, the garbage plate for us was it's time to clean out the fridge because tomorrow's trash day. So it was never pleasant, let's put it that way. But it was something that had to happen.
Right.
And I think the weather's going to be a challenge for this tournament. They've got some nasty weather coming in.
Yeah, I heard they got a little early morning frost up there, and that's part, yeah, and that's part of why they had to delay it for a bit. But yeah, it's great to talk some golf with you. I always love to, and of course the U.S. Open going to be in LA Country Club is the next major tournament, followed by the Open Championship, which is called Champions Golf of the Year, which happens over there in Scotland or in St. Andrews or one of those places. But yeah, I always love talking golf with you. You're the best. I think you're a great person to talk about it. But yeah, Oak Hill certainly is one of the great parts of golf, especially up there in upstate New York.
Jack, I had one more thing before we go. I just want to let you know I spoke to Uncle Brian earlier today, and he'd love to come back on the show when you have time.
Awesome. I love that.
He was jealous when I told him I was coming on today.
I'm sure he'll be watching. You can.
Oh yeah, he'll be tuned in. I know he will.
Jack, you can remind everyone that you can check these out on YouTube, right?
Don't forget, yes, and don't forget to check out our YouTube channel and like, comment, and subscribe. We will be posting our videos after the conclusion of the show.
Good Guy Sports Podcast.
Yes, it's called Good Guy Sports Podcast. We will be uploading once the show is over, and make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And we'll talk to you guys next week. And I'm Jackson Gerke, along with our special guest Uncle Steve, co-host Blake Gerke. Blake Lumber unable to join us this week, but Uncle Steve, good to have you on. Thanks for coming on. If I don't see you again, you have a great vacation if you guys are going soon. We will definitely be tuning in. We will definitely be tuning in. If I don't see you again soon, let me have you back on, Steve. Thanks for coming on. If I don't see you again, enjoy your vacation, and
go Celtics.
And go Celtics.
And like that. And I just want to say it's been a pleasure to be back with Uncle Mike.
Oh, thank you, Uncle Steve. Appreciate it.
No overtime the next 13 days. Okay, get out of there on time.
And go Mage. Preakness to Saturday.
Okay.
There you go.
We'll keep an eye on it.
Go Canes. Go Celts.
Go Canes.
Canes and Celtics.
All right, guys. Steve, thanks for coming on. Let me have you back on. But enjoy your vacation, whatever you're doing. Thanks for coming on. we'll see you soon. We'll keep in touch. Go Celtics. Have a great rest of your night.
You guys too. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thanks,
Bye
guys.
now.
Thanks.
Bye, Mike.
Bye.
Bye, Jack.
Yeah.